But what we're going to do is assign a Bear character to the vibes of an Eastern Conference team. And we included them all. We did a little messing around to make it work. And we're going to start with the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers is Carmi.
Why are you fucking with me? Why are you fucking with me? Why are you fucking with me?
The main character from The Bear, right? The exquisite chef who seems to have just like severe mental illness. And that is the Philadelphia 76ers. On paper, this should be great, right? One of the best in the world. They have Joel Embiid. They have Paul George. They have Tyrese Maxey. Yet, they maybe have the least vibes of everybody in the show. And I think that is the 76ers. And I mean, they're doing a good job of just kind of stepping in it right now. We got a clip from Paul George.
I think initially, you know what I mean, coming back to LA, that was home when I first came back to LA, but it's not the same love. Because when I was in LA, they like, man, you should have been a Laker. That's all I was hearing.
He's also encouraged Philly to bring it, that he likes the constructive feedback. Sir. Now he's got other players coming out and saying stuff about how like weak Paul George was. I guess KCP was on Draymond Green's podcast talking about how that Clippers team wanted to get out of the bubble even though they were up 3-1. Pat Bev was on his podcast. I don't know if he's in Israel yet, but was already talking smack about how Paul George can't take constructive criticism. Even Montrezl Harrell, who we haven't heard from since him and Giannis started throwing a ladder at each other, he even came out and said something. Between Embiid now going on all of these podcasts he's thrown, saying the Celtics are a super team, that if he goes 5 for 20, they'd get blown out. Sir, we can check the tape on that one. I mean, outside of Tyrese Maxey, it feels like they are about to embark on in a pretty toxic work environment. So yes, on paper, the 76ers are Carmi. The Knicks are Marcus.
Sure.
If you were to try to find any character in this entire show that had good vibes, it's Marcus right now. The dude makes desserts. He makes pastries. And sure, he's had his own hardships. But he went overseas in one of the seasons, has an incredible experience, comes back. Kind of like the Knicks going overseas to get OG Anunoby from London, right? Just good vibes all around. Anytime you see him on screen, you're like, yeah, that's great. And that's what the Knicks are. They're a college team who are hanging out like an adult. Instead of waiting till their 10-year reunion, they got an apartment together. The Knicks are Marcus. The Bucks are Sid. The Milwaukee Bucks are Sid.
Hi. Hello.
Because again, probably like top of the show, right? Top of the show. More likable than the Sixers, right? Giannis is still really likable. And now, I don't know, Dame. Maybe we're kind of coming around on Dame again. They still got Chris Middleton. However, it feels like they're going to step on their own toes in some way, right? They're going to do something to mess it up. They're injured. They're injured a lot. I feel like Sid, sometimes stepped on their toes, make things a little bit harder. But still, you're rooting for them. And I think that's kind of what we're doing with Giannis, right? I think we root for Giannis a little bit more than we root for Joel Embiid. Would you agree with that? Okay, this is my favorite one, the Hornets. You didn't think, how are we going to get to Charlotte, Mike? How are you going to find a character in the Bear that's Charlotte Hornets? Well, not only do I have one, it's two. It's the Fox.
Enjoy.
I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but it's Matty Matheson's character and the other dude. And when they come in early on in season 1 and season 2, you're like, wow, what a change of pace, huh? Little comedy here. That's the Charlotte Hornets. If you get a little sprinkle of Charlotte, you catch them on the right night. LaMelo Ball's throwing lobs to Mark Williams. Brandon Miller, budding superstar. Yeah, you can sign me up for that. But I only want to see them 2 times throughout the entire year. And unfortunately, if you see them a bunch of times like we did in season 3 of The Bear, not as fun. And that's how I feel about the Charlotte Hornets. I want to see them twice a year. I want to see 2 full Charlotte Hornet games, and that's it. Celtics are Uncle Jimmy.
May I share with you a story of complete and utter failure?
My guy, Oliver Platt, who I stood next to in line before TJ and Dave's show for about an hour and a half, my first 2 weeks in New York City, and that felt like a cool moment. Uncle Jimmy, right? Kind of the big dog. He's got all the money. However, we do find out, spoiler, that he might actually be poor, and that's the Boston Celtics. They feel like they're in charge, the defending champion. They went out there. They're the ones throwing the money, right? They give Jaylen Brown $300 million. They give Tatum $300 million. They give Sammy Hauser $45 million. Derek White $130 million. However, they immediately said they were going to sell the team right after that. That makes me think that he's nervous about being poor in a couple of years. That's Uncle Jimmy. Nat, played by Abby Elliott, former SNL alum, also goes by Sugar in the show, right? The sister of Carm, is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
And it's because, an important part on the first half of the call sheet, right? Definitely in the first half of the call sheet. Comes from a broken home, though. Just like the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? They were physically broken last year. Darius Garland busted up his jaw. Donovan Mitchell missed some time. Mobes missed some time. But they also emotionally and spiritually broken. JB Bickerstaff, right? They did not like their coach. They did not like their home. Much like what they did with their mom. They fired their mom, just like they fired JB Bickerstaff. Then they bring in a new coach. That's kind of like this season. The mom gets rolled back in. You guys know Tina?
Oh, come on.
That's the Indiana Pacers. Similar to the Charlotte Hornets, but at a much higher level. Easily likable. Probably the most likable character in there. You root for this person at all. The only thing that doesn't work is the age. But on a bad night of NBA action, a Pacers game can carry you to the next night. That's kind of like Tina. You could give Tina a full episode. If you're like, man, this show isn't working, much like it wasn't in season 3. You give Tina one episode, gets you to the next episode. It like kind of bridges the gap here. And if things break right, hey, maybe they go on a deep playoff run. I think that's Tina. The Pacers are Tina. The Bulls are Mikey.
You would have fucking gone.
For those that don't know who Mikey is, John Barenthal. All right, John Barenthal, who this isn't, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but not really, because like we start with him being dead from the very beginning and only get flashbacks. Yeah, that's kind of the Chicago Bulls. They're dead, and then we get flashbacks sometimes, right? Yeah, they were really good back in the day with Michael Jordan, and then they've been like super dead since then. And the only time that we get to see the Chicago Bulls in a fun light is when we do a flashback. The Heat are Richie.
I'm being serious.
Because the Heat culture, he's got some Heat culture in him. There's a vibe about Richie. And I would say most of the time, it's not a fun watch, right? Most of the time, he's creating rough edges. But every once in a while, everything gels together. Everything gels together beautifully. And you go on a run. That's the Miami Heat. The Pistons, the Wizards, the Raptors, and the Nets are all Pete.
I know, that's why I brought this.
So for those that don't know Pete is Abby Elliott, Nat's character's husband. And I never want to see a standalone Pete episode. All right? I never want a full 35 minutes about Pete. I never want to watch a full thing about any of those teams. Like if those teams are playing each other, I'm not interested. However, if you pair them up with the right team on the right night, I'll watch it. Same thing. So if Pete is a side character in an episode about Richie, yeah, I'll tune in. But if you're telling me season 4, episode 3, 35 minutes on Pete, I'll see you at episode 4. Atlanta. I almost made Atlanta the same character as the Charlotte Hornets, who is out there. He's in charge of all of like the wine and I believe cocktails as well. I'm not sure what his official role is on this show. You see them early. Right? Early in your dining experience, right? Because you kind of start with some wine. That's like the Hawks. They're a 7 p.m. game. You see them early. But then you don't see them again. Like once League Pass gets cooking and the 8 p.m. games start, Dallas is playing San Antonio, tips off at 8. It's time to eat. So I'm not going to see Atlanta anymore. But it is a nice way to start the night because I'm just happy to have a 7 p.m. game. And like Trae Young is like getting a little bit of a buzz on. Right? Oh, I kind of like a little dose of Trae Young. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look at that step back there. Oh, he just threw a lob to Okongwu. But if you have too much of that, it's bad basketball. All right, last but not least, the Magic. The Magic are the guest stars in the show. Right? We saw John Mulaney, Bob Odenkirk. Why can't I think of anybody else on the show? But all the guest stars that come in and out, that's the Orlando Magic because they had kind of a guest star appearance last year. They've been bad for so long. All of a sudden, the Wagners, Paolo Banchero, they go get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, are we going to find out this year that the Orlando Magic are recurring? Or were they just like a one-time thing? Do they come back to earth? or are they just a one-time thing? So there you go. There you have it. That is the Eastern Conference Vibe rankings as characters from the Bear. I think if we wanted to rank how we did with those, I think the best ones were the Hornets, Atlanta, the Magic, and the Bulls. I think the rest of them, we really stretched this to make this work. But we're trying to have fun, guys. It's the off season. We're trying to make some content.